I would like to call upon America to be more careful with its trust and prevent those wise persons who are attempting to establish even finer degrees of justice and even finer legal shades of equality. Some because of their distorted outlook, some because of their short-sightedness, and still others out of self-interest, from falsely using the struggle for peace and social justice to lead you down a false road, because they are trying to weaken you. They are trying to disarm your strong and magnificent country in the face of this fearful threat, one that has never been seen before in the history of the world.
He certainly is one of the world's outstanding experts on the subject of Soviet propaganda and disinformation and active measures. When the Soviets use the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean?
Psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. First one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation, because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy. Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it.
There is nothing wrong with your screen. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling the messaging in this transmission. We will tell you the topics you may speak about. We will remove any speech we deem unfit. We will identify and protect you from all that is evil. You need only put your full trust in us. We are the government, and we are here to help.
All right, guys, I'm coming at you solo today. Jack is under the weather, so let's all say a prayer for Jack. I do want to cover some things today, so it looks like I'm lagging a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick refresh. Just hang with me. All right, I hope that's better. So I want to a couple of things that I wanted to cover today. One, I wanted to get people's reaction from the video that we just released. I just wanted to kind of hear what you guys thought about it and whatnot. So as that goes down, let me know. Just leave in the comments, and then we're going to go over some of the stuff that I wanted to go over was Black Rock and kind of really discuss Black Rock. I always knew Black Rock and what they are and etc. One of the tankers today, yeah, I just coined the term tanker. One of the tankers today just shared a video regarding Black Rock, and not just Black Rock. It was a great reset video, and he shared it, and I thought it was really good. So I wanted to. I'm going to put it in the comments at the end of this broadcast, but I want to share some. There was an exercise that I think we could all do together that will help you to figure it out. So that'll help you to point it out to other people and really gain an understanding of it. If you haven't gotten a chance to see the opening video, the video that we put out yesterday, I should say, definitely give it a look. It's a look into 2033. What would happen basically if the United States just fails to execute it? If we the people never get the opportunity to rein in our government and we just continue to let them run wild, it's a painted picture of where it's going to end. Okay, and it's all based. It's not complete fiction. Okay, it's all based on stuff right out of WEF's website, right out of their own text and their. What happened was I was reading basically their vision of what they want the world to look like, and while I was reading it, like this image was coming to my head that really coincides with that video because it sounded like it's when they were listing off all these grandiose things like they want to eliminate poverty and eliminate hunger and you know and you know every kid gets a pony, the whole nine, right? And I'm listening to all of that and I'm saying to myself, this is so pie in the sky it almost seems like a movie, and hence that video just kind of came to mind, and I thought that it was prudent to go ahead and produce it, just to kind of I guess get my thoughts out in the form of video. So it was fun to make. I hope it was entertaining for you guys. It definitely is something that's worth sharing and giving some people an idea of what all that stuff sounds like when it's put in a creepy text, right? And that's I guess what I was trying to do is like, because you can listen to all that stuff and I can easily see people saying to themselves, you know, like, oh, well, what's wrong with with clean environment and saving the planet? And yeah, you have to hold these people accountable. How else will they're not going to do it on their own? Like I could see people, these Marxists, like rationalizing this in their head, and so I thought it was prudent to go ahead and put it together in a way, the way we see it, the way people who can see what's going on see it, and when you look at it that way, I think it changes the context of what you're reading when you read because they put this stuff out they put it out in the open. They truly believe that they are going to save us all, and that we just don't know any better, but it's okay. It's okay that we don't know any better because they do, right? And if you guys could do me a favor and just leave in a comment, I see about 4 or 5 people on. If you could just leave throughout 3 different platforms, if you could leave in the comment if the stream is coming through okay. It looks a little laggy on my end, but this software sometimes does that. And then I find out later after I was done messing with it that it was coming out fine. So I just want to check because I don't have a producer or anyone else to really look into this kind of stuff for me. So I just want to make sure it's coming out well. You guys are all I got. So if I'm making a fool of myself, you just sit there and let me, slugs on you, right? So, all right. So anyway, there's a task. If you're not aware of what Black Rock is, um, so many of us kind of understand and Vanguard really is actually worse. But there's, we all kind of know, like there's 6 big media companies, there's a handful of companies that are constant, but then they spurt out into all of these different products, and like all of this stuff that we get, looks, it's all technically rolls up to the same people. Well, it's actually a lot creepier than that, and really, it's all owned by one entity, at least the major. We look at the world and we think, and this is a big part of the illusion, and that's why when I saw the way that this was presented in this documentary, and again, I'm going to share the link in the comments, at the end of the video. But before I do that, I want to run you guys through this exercise so that um, you can see for yourself, and I think because that's what I think is important about it. And basically, all of these almost everything, all right, we're not, I mean, I always knew that this form of capitalism that we're living in it is somewhat of an illusion because it's been perverted by this Marxist everything, and it's just not capitalism. There's nothing free about our markets, and well, very little free about our markets. And basically, this is a good way to articulate it. There's 1 or 2 companies, really, some you could argue 3, who own the major stake in just about everything. There's no competition, okay? You think Coca-Cola competes with Pepsi. You think Apple competes with Google, right? With Android and Apple, right? I mean, that's the way we think of it, right? We think, oh, these are all competing companies, and Microsoft competes with both of them, and and all of these competitions, Facebook and Twitter, compete with each other, and in reality, none of that is true. In reality, no matter what choice you make, the same people are the major stakeholder of that company. It's just crazy. It's just crazy, but it's absolutely true. And I knew this to some degree, but I didn't have a way of act. That's why I never really discussed it in the past, because I didn't have a simple way to convey it to people where, and now I do. Now I have a very easy way to convey it to people, and you can do it right through Yahoo Finance, right? So the hell just happened? All right, I'm back. I don't know what the hell just happened there, but I lost everybody for a second. All right, so I'm not sure what happened. The software is kind of lagging out on me a little bit, but I'm going to carry on as if it did not lag out on me, and we'll just have to go from there. So basically, where I'm going with Black Rock and Vanguard are they own the majority share of virtually everything, right? And if someone could just comment for me if my screen shows up. Last time I did this, you guys said you could see it, and then I went back to the video after it was done, and the screen didn't show up. So if it doesn't show up, then I'm going to go ahead and just explain it to you verbally. If it does show up, then I'm going to go ahead and just show you a quick walkthrough of how to do it. It's very, very easy. But give me a second, and I'm going to go ahead and share it. Okay. Can you guys see my screen? Someone can go ahead and comment on that. Wait. Now. Now can you see my screen? Anyone? I see like 8 people on. Can some I need a little bit of love, or I'm just going to go on, and I don't care if it's up or not. All right. So what you're looking at, assuming you can see it, since everyone's thumbs are hurting right now, what you're looking at is PepsiCo. Okay. So what I want to show you with PepsiCo, and on Yahoo, this is Yahoo Finance. Okay. So what I want to show you is, if you go down here to holders and you click on that, it's going to open up who the major shareholders of PepsiCo are. So you look, and there they are. There's Vanguard, BlackRock. Get used to these names, folks. Remember these 3 in particular, okay? But you will see Bank of America. You'll see some others. Morgan Stanley shows up on a lot of them. But at the top, you'll always see Vanguard and BlackRock, okay? So they own, all right, so they own a major share in PepsiCo. Maybe they just like Pepsi-Cola. Maybe that's the big deal, right? But then, we look at Coca-Cola, which is Pepsi's arch rival, right? I mean, this Pepsi and Coke, I mean, the Cola Wars, right? I mean, in my era, the Cola Wars were a big deal, right? Coke took a beating because they went to New Coke and all that drama, right? But then we go to holdings and we see, well, who's at the top of the list here? Well, it's Black Rock and Vanguard. So Black Rock and Vanguard, no matter which you chose in the Cola Wars, if you picked Pepsi or you like Coke, it doesn't matter. Black Rock and Vanguard are the ones who are getting the money. All right, at least the lion's share of it. Right, they're the main stockholders. But what about Apple? Right. So here's Apple, and we say, okay, well, with Apple, their arch rival would be Google, right, with Android. Maybe Samsung too, but Google for sure. So let's check them out. Oh, wait a minute. Look at this. It's Vanguard and BlackRock again. And here's State Street. Berkshire starts to pop up on a lot of these as well. Okay, but this is the key, right? What's creepy is it's not just these few that I'm showing you, right? I can go, here's Google, there they are. Okay. So there's Google up here. Alphabet Incorporated is the parent company of Google. So, we sit here yelling about Zuckerberg and the CEOs of companies like Microsoft and Google and Apple and it guys, it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. All right. And this all, even when you look at like Klaus Schwab and whatnot, like he's not running this show. Okay. He's not running this show. He's the face of the leadership of this show. But the reset show, he's not running that. All right. This reset show is far bigger than Klaus Schwab or Soros. These are the guys that are out in public that we're allowed to see, so we have a boogeyman to get mad at. All right. But like this is all, where does it all end? Where does the, who's behind the everything here? It's the Rothschild family. Okay. And when you get to Vanguard, suddenly they don't show the holdings anymore because Vanguard owns everything's interconnected, right? All of these major companies, including with each other. So Vanguard owns a majority of BlackRock. Okay. They're the main stakeholders of BlackRock. When you get to Vanguard, then you're at the top of the pyramid. Now we don't know who the hell, and that's where you start going down to figure it out. You find that it's going to lead you to the Rothschilds. And again, a name that you've probably heard in a ton of conspiracy theory and other things like that. The Rothschilds are creepy enough to be full blown conspiracy fact. Now, when we get into details of what the Rothschilds look, when you own the entire world, it's very difficult to come up with details on you, right? So, but what I want people to understand, and the reason I kind of lit this all off with Yuri Bezmenov and Alexander Solzhenitsyn, is because those, if you missed the intro, you can go back and check it, and I'll clip the ticker off when this live feed is done. But the reason I started with Alexander Solzhenitsyn is because he made that quote calling out social justice and telling the United States in a speech that he gave. Okay, and that is printed. You do have to buy the hard copy of it, but it is printed. All right, that was the last page or page and a half of a speech called "Warning to the West," where he warns us about falling for finer shades of justice and finer shades of equality and social justice. And he says that by name, right? You heard the quote. So he says it by name. So in the end, these guys and the Russians were the first ones actively to try and take down the United States this way. There have been others who have tried to take over the United States in different methods that go somewhat before the Russians. But this plot, the way that they've done it, the way they ended up doing it in the end, this was started by the Soviet Union. Not finished, but started by the Soviet Union. And it began in the 50s. These companies, these Vanguards and Black Rocks, these decisions got made right around in that same era, okay? In the same era that these, so whether or not they were tying in with the older Soviets to do this stuff, I don't know. But what I do know is the timelines are fairly lined up within 10 years or so. But the Russians went ahead. They were warning us. These defectors, Alexander Solzhenitsyn, Yuri Bezmenov went on, who was the next guy up, went on to teach this for years in universities, and nobody ever listened to them. Right? No one ever listened to them. And frankly, if you're in 1984 and you watch that interview, it's not nearly as creepy as it is in 2022. So I kind of get it. Why? Because it's so grandiose. It's so like involved and complicated, and we're talking about brainwashing people, and like it just doesn't seem, especially in 1980s, it doesn't seem like something that's real. And it certainly doesn't seem like something Americans would ever fall for. But when you sit in 2022 and you have the full scope and the understanding of it, you look back at Yuri Bezmenov and Alexander Solzhenitsyn and you're like, Yuri Bezmenov used to do this, okay? Like he used to do this for the Russians. So it's not like this is just some clown who's hating on his former country. He used to do this for a living. For a living. All right. So, you know, and the reason I brought that up is because now the hippies were the first generation to be demoralized, as Yuri calls it. Matthias Desmond would say they were in a mass formation. Whatever you want to call it, the hippies were the first ones all in, right? And we all looked at that at the time and said, "Man, this just those young kids get." No, these kids were raised on a psyop, and you may be from the hippie generation. I don't even know. And it won't seem like it because like this could even be possible because when it's you can't believe that. And that's kind of what Yuri was saying. It's like once it's done, you'll go to the grave saying that this is how it is, that you're right. And there's an element of truth. So now I'm going to continue with a few more here just to give you. This goes on forever, folks. Like I could do a whole thing just sitting here, going from tab to tab and checking it all out. Here's the Walt Disney Company. All right, all the media companies. There aren't six. There's one. There's Vanguard. Okay, Vanguard is the majority owner of Black Rock. Black Rock and Vanguard own the majority of Disney. They own the majority of Paramount. They own the majority of Fox. They own the majority of freaking everything. All right. Here's Google again. I gave you Google before. Here's BlackRock. So BlackRock itself, who are the top holders? Who else? Vanguard, number one, and then BlackRock itself. So in the end, you could go into Yahoo Finance and literally go through any company you want. I've yet to There's a few that I stumble, but no major company. Every single major corporation, these guys come up on the top. They literally own everything. So there aren't six media conglomerates. There's one. There's one. And that's Vanguard. You could say BlackRock, fine. Say BlackRock. They're kind of the same thing. But in the end, that's who's running everything in the world. That's not conspiracy theory. Like again, and another reason I brought up Yuri Bezmenov is because some people will argue against stuff regardless. And he says that like once you're demoralized, once we've got you, I could take you to the Russian, he said I could take you to the Russian freaking concentration camps and show you the piles of bodies and you will deny that it's true. I don't agree with him on that. I don't agree with him. The reality is, and I mention Solomon Asch all the time, his conformity experiment is really the class act. In his experiment, it only took, if you don't know what it is, 7 people or 6 people that were brought in, that were all in on it. One guy was a subject. They gave him a line, and then there were 3 other lines to the right of it. One of them was identical. It was clear which one was identical. Everybody gave the wrong answer. They wanted to see what the subject did. All right. And I use that example all the time because it only takes while the vast majority of those subjects gave the wrong answer to conform. If even one of the other subjects gave the right answer, it drastically changed what the original subject did. Drastically. It only took one. It took one guy to step out and be like, okay, this is real. Like this is in front of my face. I cannot deny this. That one person, each time we get that one person, because, I always say I'm talking to the 40%. That's the 40% who know that this is all BS and are willing to listen to what's really happening. So they're willing to unplug, if you will, from the matrix, but they won't because they don't do it because they don't want to make waves. Well, they're the ones that are going to take down the country, not the 30% that are crazy. It's the 40% who sit around thinking, I just want to be able to act normal. I don't care if it's fake. I just want to be normal. I want them to let me be normal. We're Americans. We don't ask people to let things be normal. But we've got a couple generations that do. for the love of God, we cannot be the generation that is that way. Francis, I see you over there in Jersey. Thank you for the comment. And yeah, and I will tell you guys, definitely get yourself engaged. Drop some comments if you have any questions. Exactly, if you missed anything and you're wondering how to pick up on it, definitely ask some questions and let me know, where you're from, where you're commenting from, and what your question may be, and I'll address it right here on the show. Okay. So, and then even if you're watching this after and you're watching the rebroadcast, leave your comments there as well. The discussion should keep going because this is serious stuff and it's important for people to be able to understand exactly how this works. There are literally two companies, one really, Vanguard, that runs the entire world. It's nuts how many companies I went down the line with here. And then here's Vanguard. Okay, this is the last one that I'm going to show you. Look at this. Vanguard doesn't show you in the holdings, right? Because the creepy people, they don't want to be listed. They give you down here the small holdings. These are not the majority holders. They leave out themselves. So, because obviously they are the main holders of their own, right? So they're showing you Apple is the main holder of Vanguard. What do you think that, right? Clear. How could that be if Vanguard's the main holder of Apple, right? So this is just a circle where everything is interconnected. Everybody is owned by everyone's taking orders in the end from their major shareholder. Everyone's major shareholder are the same two companies. So, and even telling us that there are a big six in media is a lie. Even that's an exaggeration. I mean, this is just it's so next level. It's so next level that, but the reason why it's important and the reason why I want to talk about it, and I was hoping to get more engagement, but it doesn't look like I'm going to get it, so that's fine because I've got it planned on what I want to talk about anyway. But in the end, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because people have to start to see. There's no way that we can combat this if people won't even acknowledge its existence. Like if you're still walking around being like, "Oh, that's crazy. That's a conspiracy theory." Like you have to stop. You can't continue. You can't continue. And whether it's me or the dozens of other people that are out there trying to splash water in your face, you need to, like, that has to wake you up. The water has to wake you up. What do we got here? We got Diana Sunshine Wolf. Protest is the poor person's politician. Russia can come get these scum American oligarchs any day now. Spain is uniting. All right, Diana. I don't know if you're from Spain. I'm assuming you're from Spain, but that's coming from YouTube. Usually our international folks come from Twitch, but that's cool. Yeah, I mean, look, in the end, in the United States, okay, look at us as like the buffer, right? None of this can happen. This great reset is dead in the water without the United States submitting and coming on board. We have been a thorn in their side forever. They say it. They say it all the time. They literally look at us like, oh, these people in their freedom. Like, oh, those Americans. It's always about freedom for them. Nothing can happen. Like it's just crazy. Right? We live in a period of time where 1% of the people hoard all the world's wealth. It's not even 1%, Diana. This group makes up 0.00001%. Okay, so I think I got the zeros right there. But you get the point. There's a lot of zeros in the point. All right. So the 1% are nowhere near these people. And the thing is, outside of the United States, that 1% doesn't change. That 0.0001% never changes. That's global. But the 1% that the United States, the 1% is changing all the time. It's constantly changing. It's a constant flow. You got to understand how all that works. It's not in a vacuum. It's not like just like the bottom the bottom percentages are moving up, the top percentages are moving down, they move into each other's positions. Someone sells their house one year, they end up in the 1%, and then they come back out of the 1% the next year. Someone, like, it's constantly a fluid situation in the US. But globally, that's not necessarily the case. And when it comes to things like Black Rock and Vanguard, that's a whole nother animal. That's a whole nother animal. All right. But you can bet the ones giving the advice here is the what is that? What is she saying here? Water is life. So, and I'm guessing that's an international comment right there, because there are, if you're not aware of the international deal with water, I don't want to get too far into that because it's going to take us down a path that I can't really mess with. But all right, you're from Nebraska. All right, cool. So when you said Spain, I was thinking maybe you were from Spain, but that's cool. Nebraska, God bless you guys. Just recently jumped on board for Convention of States, so awesome. I hope you were in the club there. But yeah, so get the point, right? We get the point with this Black Rock. So it's just I just want people to understand this, and then once again, now that I've spent that half hour or so kind of explaining that and giving that history of it, I I want to explain again, get back to the United States being necessary. We did a previous one of these on modern monetary theory. If you're not familiar with what modern monetary theory is, go back and check that video out. It's absolutely crucial that they be able to utilize modern monetary theory. All right, and really, I mean, to simplify it, it's about printing money endlessly and thinking you can get away with it. According to modern monetary theory, you can do it forever, and no one's going to care because you make the money. And they base that idea on the fact that the United States is the world reserve currency. However, what they conveniently leave out is that, number one, it's still we're in a situation where we're trusting people like our federal government to manage something that's incredibly delicate. If you were to remain the world's reserve currency, clearly today we understand that they are unable to manage this idea. And not only if they were able to manage it, eventually someone else would mismanage it, and then we'd end up like we are today with with a steak raw in the supermarket, not even prime grade, one 16-ounce steak costing like $30. It's like, what the hell is going on? Inflation is going on. We've been printing way too much money, and here's the beauty of it, though. We're close with Convention of States. We're close. All right. Amending the Constitution is not easy. It was designed to not be easy. There's nothing easy about it. And in fact, cause action has been at this for some what, 9 years now, 10 years. So like the fact that and they've got now 18 states on board, right? We got Nebraska, we got Wisconsin on board this year. We're about to get South Carolina on board. We got I'm missing one more that we got on this year. If I got any cause folks on, if you could remind me the one I'm missing. Oh, West Virginia. West Virginia got on board, and we're looking at South Carolina. Pennsylvania's about to come on board. If we call this convention, it's designed to be a hard process, but if everybody is on the same page, if the issues are this clear, right? It's like with slavery, right? Like, the issue was very clear. There was great, when it came to the table, there was great agreement on the 13th Amendment. There was great agreement on that. Okay. And so it went through. It's like when there's great agreement, when the issue is so grand, all right, and the complete annihilation of the nation and the morphing into a conglomerate of equally powerful, and manufactured equally powerful, right? So everybody's knocked down to the same level. So nobody has more power than anyone else because we're all going to be governed by an international council. So when you look at that scenario, when you look at that as being the outcome, then yeah, everybody needs to be in agreement. I mean, it should be simple. Every time I say it, I feel like it just should be simple. Like, everyone should just get it. Why doesn't everyone get it? But yet here we are. Here we are. So in the end, though, we've got 18 states on board. We've got 19 coming. Mark Meckler, who's the president of the Convention of States Action, he said his target at 22. He was like, we want 22 and 22. I'm a little more aggressive than that, although, he's the one doing all the legwork, right? So, I mean, we're putting in an effort with the channel, but I'm not flying all over the country talking to legislators the way he is. But in the end, if we could get people fired up, if any one of these videos on cause go viral, and people start, for everybody, there has to be a last straw. There has to be a last straw. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Diana. She says, global global WEUN oligarchy. No thanks. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the general consensus in the country. I think that's the general consensus in the country, right? And I think that's. And there's Maureen Zolo. How are you, Maureen? She's, I believe, the state director in Connecticut, right? I'm going off memory, but Maureen has always been around to keep me in check in case I go blabber off something that's not accurate. So, but anyway, I guess the point with cause is simple. We're almost there. It doesn't feel like it to a lot of people. It probably doesn't feel like it, to a lot of the people that have had their heels dug in for a long time because they've been digging so hard and the state's been coming slow. But this particular, now that, I've always said this, Joe Biden is like our greatest asset. He's our greatest asset. This man, the more crazy, tyrannical, nonsensical stuff he does, the more people, get down to their last straw. And they're just like everyone seems to have a little bit different breaking point, but the idea is to get everybody to that breaking point. And Ginny says the Rothschild family is the puppet master of all deception that kept us blind for many years. Their history is hideous. Yes, their history absolutely is hideous. They are, I joked before and said Klaus Schwab was kind of like a true life James Bond villain, but the Rothschilds, like that's next level stuff. That's next level stuff. And yeah, they are at the top of all this. How all that plays down, I don't know. But what I do know is this. Like, there's an element of it that I stopped caring, right? There's an element of it where I'm just like, I don't really care anymore, about this web of, Vanguard and Black Rock. I mean, I want people to see it because I want people to know that this stuff is real. Like, it bothers me when people still think it's conspiracy theories. So in the end, like, I want you to see it's real. That's why I'm talking about it. But when I say that there's an element that just doesn't care anymore, it's because I've been in leadership for most of my life. All right, whether it was managing, running my own business, saving a business, whatever the deal may be, until recently, I'd always been in some sort of leadership. And in the end, there's a general rule of thumb that you don't bring up a problem unless you have a solution. And so for me, focus, like, I already know the Rothschilds are creepy. It doesn't really matter if they get creepier because they're already creepy enough to want to take over the world. So, like, how much more creepy can you get? What, are they going to take over the universe? So, all right, they're out there. They're out there and they're creepy. Black Rock and Vanguard, they're out there. They're buying up everything. They own everything, right? Okay, they don't own Rumble, right? I know we're not streaming the Rumble right now. This video will be up there eventually. but they don't own Rumble. They don't own Gab. They don't own, there's things they don't own, right? But every major thing out there, all right, if it's an industry thing and it's the biggest thing, they own it. Okay, so that's where they come down to. But in the end, what I'm getting at is I don't really care. They can own all that stuff. If I get angry, if I want to, not buy Coca-Cola, I'll buy, RC Cola. RC Cola. Was that just an East Coast thing? I don't know. But in the end, you have choices that you can make to now, in some cases, in some cases you don't. Your media is 100%, with the exception of people like me, the documentary I'm going to share with you later, and that kind of stuff, for the most part, all your major media is owned by them. All of it. All of it. That Fox, MSNBC, all of it. Okay. And the idea is right and left. They're two wings in the same bird. I've said it all the time. They are. All right. Yeah, you got a Rand Paul out there every now and then. Maybe a Ted Cruz might be bucking it a little bit. Rand Paul is really the one major free thinker in Congress that, like, could care less. Tulsi Gabbard, though, I kind of like her too. She's got 0 Fs to give too. But they're few and far between. There's only a handful of them. So looking for our elected officials to take over and fix these things. What are the major problems that we have? The biggest problem that we have is that's going to kill us if we don't fix something, if we don't change it quick, is the spending. We all know this. We all know this. I put it in that video that we dropped yesterday in that future scenario. As he's giving the speech, the number comes up of what the U.S. debt was. I mean, it was a projected debt for 2033, but it was $65 trillion. Nobody watching this video right now is going to think $65 trillion is unthinkable in 11 years. Nobody. Let me tell you something. If it gets to that level, okay? Here, the problem is this, all right? And I talked about this a little bit in the modern monetary theory. If we let it get there and we don't pass amendments to go ahead and reel this stuff in and get ourselves a balance, and start working off of a balanced budget and start paying that debt clock, all right? If we don't get all that done, we're finished. We're finished. The debt will get to 65. And when it gets there, the IMF, all right, International Monetary Fund, if you don't know what it is, they will have a digital coin ready if they don't have it ready much earlier than that. All right. And now they're going to run their monetary theory from a global perspective. And that was the idea of the video that we put out yesterday, is that like if we don't stop the spending, and what drives me insane and what pisses me off is that we have, like, the founders of our country were so freaking wise that they knew that this day would come. They knew that they knew Black Rock was going to be freaking buying up everything, and Black Rock, Vanguard, and the Rothschild family were going to have all their minions, and Soros and Klaus and all these guys. They knew all this stuff was going to happen. They didn't know Klaus and they didn't know Soros and but in the end, they knew that we would be in a position eventually, regardless, where this would be necessary, where it would be absolutely necessary for the people of the country to gather around, unify, and take our power back. They knew that we would give it away. They knew that eventually the federal government would begin running everything. And it scared them to death. Most of them. Most of them. Some of them were big fans. But most of them were terrified by that prospect. And in the end, just the fact that they understood that, put it in, gave us the weapon, and now what do? We are so used to being beaten up by fear tactics. I mean, this has been going on now for 70 years. I mean, they're so good at shaking the little boxes that they separate us into, that, like, they're so good at it that it's almost instinctual. Like, they've almost got it automated. Soon it'll be handled by AI. They won't even have to do anything. That's how good they are at it. And we fall for it to the point where we've got groups like the John Birch Society aligning with George Soros and not even knowing it. Not even knowing it. And going out and being vocal about it. And going all out, making sure that, everybody knows. Making sure everybody knows. I have conservatives on MeWe who are pasting links into the comments of some of my posts that are regarding Article 5, and these links are from Common Cause. They don't even know. They don't even know that Soros is the main benefactor, the main contributor to Common Cause. But this is where we're at. But I don't mind. Look, everybody, in my head, I think everybody who supports cause now, at some point in time, believed, at least for a little while even, the runaway convention theory. At least someone did, that they were going to run away, they were going to just rewrite the whole Constitution, all this crazy stuff. At some point, when you first hear about it, and, I know some of the folks on here watching, you guys have been with cause forever, for years and years. So this was probably a long time for you. Embarrassingly enough for me, it was only a little over a year ago that I even caught on with this, that I even realized, despite the fact that I used to pride myself on knowing the Constitution. I used to pride myself on being aware. People that I know in my social circles would come to me to ask questions about things like that. And then here we are. I'm reading Article 5 as if I've never read it before in my life. It didn't even occur to me in reading it in the past that this makes sense, that this is, that if we use this, this could work. And then I went down my own research trail, and during that path, I too came across the articles from, what is it, Freedom Society or something like that. And there's more. I've read every single one of them like 30 times now, because they keep flipping the same articles to me every time people want to debate this. And if you don't know, I'm out there debating this literally like 12 hours freaking, well, not 12 hours, but 3 to 4 hours a day of just, constantly engaging in some way to shut someone up who's trying to poison my posts with that stuff. I leave their posts up. I don't take them down. I just make sure that people get the other side of the argument underneath it. Because in the end, unlike every other internet conversation and debate, I've been turning people right and left. Right and left. Like, most conservatives are not crazy psycho zealots like that when it comes to their position. They just want to, they're like, show me, give me sources, convince me, is what they're saying. Because right now they've convinced me that if we do a convention of states, they're going to run away with it. So now I need you to, you're telling me that that can't happen, convince me. And I will go ahead and make the case. And I will send, I will send them, after giving them context or referring them to a previous video that I've done, or sending them to maybe it's as simple as a PragerU vid, or maybe it's one that I've done. I did one where I broke down Federalist Paper 40 to shut down the runaway convention and debunk the idea that the first convention was a runaway. Federalist Paper 40, Madison lays it out for you. He's laying it out, not for, well, he lays it out for you now, but back then he was laying out the case for why they did what they did in Federalist Paper 40. And it's a great case. You can watch that video to check it out. It's on our YouTube channel. It should be on our Facebook channel too. But the point is, we need you. We need the 15 people that are watching right now. We need the balance of people that are going to see this in the future. We need you to, number one, understand it. Okay, understand it, and go to conventionestates.com. You can go to our website. There's a link to go that'll take you there to register. We've got different things than they do. So they've got a ton of learning material on their site. Our site is a little bit more specific. We've got like the actual resolutions lined up by state, where you can easily find your state, see the current update, that sort of thing, and then click the actual resolution, read it, so you can see for yourself. I've read every single one of them that have been written. All right. When I first got into this, I was kind of asking questions that people couldn't answer. Like, why did Mississippi have, at the time, Mississippi had like, I forget now, I think it was only term limits, or no, they had everything except term limits. And then there was another one, like North Carolina at that time was like only term limits or something. I forget. But like there were certain states that were, I read every single one of them because I had to go through every single one of them in order to put the content on that section of the website. Right. But now it's there. So it's easy for you. Right now it's there. So it's easy for you. And then you go to these sites, you watch their videos. There's classes, there's video classes, simple ones that you can take. Right. Don't worry. It's not a test. Right. But there's video classes you can take on the cause website where they explain the runaway convention, what the historical context was, etc. Educate yourself to it, because you will come across one of these runaway convention people. And you will need to thump them. They're going to tell you Soros is all, this Soros is all behind this. I think one of them was telling me Mark Meckler is funded by. So they started. Some of them get crazy, but like, with the regular argument, the historical precedent for what it is, that you should be well versed in. And then sell the idea. Sign the petition. Get out. If you're retired, or if you're, maybe you're a house husband or a housewife and you have time on your hands, get active and participate there. Cause Action will show you how to do that. They have district captains everywhere. They've got, the only reason, I never formally took something like that is because I tend to occasionally say some crazy stuff that I don't want them to be held accountable for. So I've decided that I'm gonna just continue on promoting it from here. But in the end, no matter what state you're in, even if your state already passed it, you can still make a difference. you can still make a difference. They have social justice. Excuse me. My apologies. Oh my God, I get hit with lightning. They have social media warriors. They have, there's all kind of district captains, organizers. They got people that organize, trips down to the legislature when it's necessary. I mean, our grassroots show up at these things all the time. These legislatures in their debates, they're constantly talking about, and this is why I love state legislatures, because and I never even, this is another learning experience for me that I've gained from watching so many, is that these guys, they talk about their constituents as if like they know them. They talk about them like they, hey, a constituent yesterday came into my office and said this. Got an email from a constituent, they said this, etc. But if we're gonna, the bottom line is they're a different animal, and it's their power that's being usurped as well. So if you think that even for the ones that are power hungry, they're the one that this ain't good for them either. The federal government taking over all this stuff, they're invading state sovereignty. This is not good for them either. But I can tell you this, 1,000 truly active people in any given state can absolutely get this resolution passed. You give 1,000 active people, that means you're looking, 5, 10,000, somewhere along. Those are game-changing numbers on a local level. Okay? Those are game-changing numbers on a local level. But how pissed are you? I mean, are you okay with Black Rock owning the world? Are you okay with these creepy Bond villains like freaking Klaus Schwab and Soros, and the Rothschilds and all this? Are you okay with what they're planning to do? I mean, if you're okay with that, then I'm not speaking to you. You're not the person that I'm talking to. But I have to assume that you're not okay with that. And for the people that aren't okay with it, which should be all of us, this is America, for Christ's sakes. What are we doing? What are we doing? We've got a clean effort, a clean avenue, a path, a solution. Not a pie in the sky, hopeful nothing. It's a solution. And it's a solution big enough to fix big problems. Look, we get these 3 through, term limits for all government officials. That does damage to the deep state. Damage to the deep state. All right? It takes all of the people that are pro reset, they're gone. They're gone. All right? Fiscal restraints, modern monetary theory can no longer work. Government overreach, our kids are going to stop getting taught all this garbage in class. I mean, these 3 topics, like, it's almost like they're like heat-seeking missiles designed to destroy these psychopaths, sociopaths' plan. And we're standing in front of the button, yelling at each other about stupid, trivial nonsense that has nothing to do with the issue at hand. And when it's done, guess what, guys? We've set a precedent. All right? Right now, half of the argument is, and the fear that's getting collected around it, this has never been done before. Well, then that makes it scary. Well, don't be scared. For good Lord. It's our constitutional power. Do not be afraid to use it. And frankly, we're at a point right now where you don't have a choice. This is, 5 years ago, all right, maybe you could have kind of argued, yeah, they're out there planning it, but they're probably not going to be able to get it done. Now it's like, no, they're moving. They're moving. Now we got the president openly talking about New World Order, openly saying we need resets. We got Canada's prime minister saying we need a reset. COVID's a great opportunity. Prince Charles. We've got, of course, the dynamic, creepy duo in Soros and Schwab. But we're going to, and of course now, look, who's funding it all? The unlimited assets and funds of Black Rock. And like we need to do this. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And once, the idea that you wait too long, it's over. Because when it hits right away. That video we put out yesterday, that's a scenario that you wake up one morning to. Not one that slowly comes down the path. It's not like climate change, where the shoreline just slowly gets down. This is like a tidal wave. This is like the Kraken coming out of the water and just destroying the entire country. All right. So I hope you learned something off of this. Make sure you're hitting follow, subscribe, like. I appreciate all the commenters. I want to go through some of these comments. Um, I'll scroll back in here. Looks like Diana's been super active in here. I like this one. No to crypto black energy vampires. My goodness, what a way with words from this one. So so yeah, I mean, crypto is going to come probably one way or the other. The question is it going to be Bitcoin, which is great for freedom and liberty, or is it going to be a central bank Bitcoin or a central bank coin like the IMF coin that would be incredibly creepy for liberty, right? Because Bitcoin, it's blockchain. They have no way of tracing that no matter what. It's good as cash. So if we went to that, I'd be perfectly okay with it. Although I feel like it'd be complicated with one coin being like $30,000 and whatever. It's like you'd be dealing in like, here's like 0.0001 credit, right? So they'll have to work on that. But the idea that it's blockchain, I'm totally okay with blockchain. I like blockchain better than I like cash. To be honest with you, it's completely untraceable. Cash, somehow they can still figure out how to trace cash. But good luck trying to figure out Bitcoin. That thing goes through about 9 million different computers in random places. Like, they ain't figuring that out. Quantum computing, maybe, but then they'll just be quantum computing mining Bitcoin. So it's the same stuff. So let me see. Let me go through here, see where we're at. Yes. So Maureen says, yes, I was correct. So she is the director in Connecticut. So I see my memory's not as bad as I thought it was. So college did a little damage to my memory, but a short term anyway. But let me see what we got here. All right, we got another. Yeah, so Maureen's saying not if, when. So yeah, absolutely, not if, when. So it's not if, when for two things, right? Not if, when, as far as calling this convention, because I don't think it's a matter of if. I think it's a matter of when we call this convention. And just to put it in perspective for you, like it may be overzealous to think that we could do this, but we could be calling the convention by summertime. Like if everybody just got pissed off at the same time and started shaking down the legislators like today. There are 19 or so, I don't know how many are left now. I think it's like 19 that are left that still have to vote, that still have resolutions that they can vote on. I know I'm waiting for New York to come up with they're supposed to roll it out, but I didn't get the number. I got New Jersey. They rewrote theirs because they had one out there that was missing the government overreach, but that's rewritten and they put a new one out. Ohio is now getting ready to try and go through committee. So there's good stuff, good movement. And then how long did Rome argue? Yeah, Rome argued for quite some time. The thing about so here's the thing, right? You get people that say all empires fall, right? You've heard that, I'm sure, and they try to equate that to the United States, and that's these Marxists trying to plant the seed for you that it's inevitable. It's not inevitable. I'll tell you one thing that no empire in the history of this world has ever had, and that's Article 5. They've never had that. All right. There's never been the ability for the people from the ground up to, without revolution, right? Without bloodshed, right? So without bloodshed, there was nothing they could do. Here we have this path. So it matters. It really does matter. And no, I haven't heard of Karen Hudd's the World Bank whistleblower. I have not. Why would I? I'm sure she was murdered, thrown to the side, and everything she's ever said erased from existence the second she blew the whistle. I'm being facetious. I hope she's okay. I hope that's not true because it's possible, and I don't want to be like making light of it. But what is this? Q is Qatar. I don't really understand that one. You're saying that QAnon is that who you're referring to with that? I'm not sure, but in the end, I'm not a big QAnon guy, so to me, the best I could tell, that's like a Russian op or something. Like they were just punking us. These world leaders, there's nothing that came out of the QAnon thing, like nothing sane anyway, that that wouldn't be known by that information could have come from anywhere. It's not like it needed to be. I think they said it was supposed to be a military op inside our government or whatever. Like it didn't need to be. I guarantee you, Putin, Xi Jinping, I'm sure Netanyahu, I'm sure all of them, I'm sure the Ayatollah, they all know, the creepy stuff that's going on globally. So any one of them could have provided those drops. And the fact that they disappeared right after Trump, it's like, all right, whatever. I'm over it. I listen. It wasn't Q that was freaky. It was the Anons that were losing me. They were coming. There was one video where, and the thing is, they would mix things together, like the child trade and whatnot, like the human trafficking. Like, there's definitely an element of truth to this global human trafficking. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt Jeffrey Epstein was at the center of that. You could see how they're protecting Ghislaine Maxwell. Like there are elites who are absolutely engaging in that type of stuff. But then, like the same video where they talk about some of that, they start talking about like JFK coming back if he never died, JFK Jr., and he's gonna save the world. And time capsules, and I was just like, all right, there's a limit to how far I could fall. I try to go down every rabbit hole just for the sake of seeing what's down there. But when they started getting into time travel and all that stuff, I started, they lost me. Couldn't do it. All right, but look, I'm about to, I hope you got something out of this. If you didn't catch the exercise we did, I'll just give you a quick recap. You go to Yahoo Finance and pick any major company you want. I picked about 14 of them before I started realizing this is more than just a trend. And you will see at the top. So once you go to Yahoo Finance, you click in the. Let me show you one more time, just to, in case you guys missed that portion, because it's worth seeing again. And I'm going to put this documentary. I definitely highly recommend. This guy did a great job, being very concise. You could tell he put a lot of time into this, and he really does a great job. He's the one that actually gave me the tip on doing this exercise with you from that documentary. But here's Yahoo Finance, right? So I started off, we did Pepsi. So here's PepsiCo. And I was making the point that we think these companies are competing, like there's capitalism going on, but they're not. They're not competing, right? They're not competing. It's like Don King used to be in boxing, right? Where no matter who wins, he's walking in raising his hand, right? So it's the same thing, right? But you look at here, you see here it says holders. That's going to tell you who the major holders are. And then you roll down and you'll see it's Vanguard Group, Black Rock. You'll commonly see State Street Corporation. Bank of America comes up from time to time. Berkshire comes up a lot. But the two that are always there is Vanguard and Black Rock. And of course, Black Rock is majority owned by Vanguard. Vanguard has Black Rock. Well, we think Vanguard has Black Rock as a major stakeholder. They're not listed. So according to this, Apple is the major stakeholder, which is interesting because Vanguard, I have Apple right here. Vanguard is the majority stakeholder of Apple. So clearly, that's where the circle begins, or the circle ends, I should say, is at Vanguard. So they sit atop the pyramid, but you can go down. We did Google, same thing. We did Microsoft, doesn't matter. Walt Disney Company. We did Black Rock itself is owned by Vanguard. Paramount is owned by Vanguard and Black Rock. The what is it? Facebook, Twitter, all of it, all of it, all of it, all media organizations, all of it, every last bit of it. Absolutely crazy, but absolutely true. So take that away from this video. Let that be the major takeaway, and then let the other major takeaway be, now that hopefully you've gotten it and you've figured out that this is real. If you were one of the people that were denying, now hopefully this is real, and you can start to take moves to help us get this convention to states train on even a faster track than it is now. Because in the end, without division, none of this works. The entire thing, no matter how much money they have, we pass these amendments and the whole house of cards falls down. They're just a bunch of rich guys after that. They're just a bunch of rich guys. Doesn't matter if someone's worth 20 billion or 20 trillion. Doesn't matter. You can only buy things that are for sale. Period. There's a limit that comes with power. The power that they'll get by doing this great reset, there's no limit to that power. Because that power is not only is that do they have the power of money, as in they have a lot of money, but they will have the power over your money as well. And that's where it gets super creepy, is that, we'll move to that digital currency, and then they'll be telling you what you can and can't spend on. They won't tax soda. They'll just tell you you're fat and not let you buy soda. They won't tax pizza. They'll just tell you you're too fat and you can't get pepperoni and you need to get skim milk cheese and you need to get this and that. Yeah, it will get that granular. It will. All right. So be creeped out, but be excited, because we have a movement here. We have a solution. Right? Only thing we need to do is unify. Go to the website, sign the petition. It's patriotthinktank.com. There's a link there to sign the petition. Sign it. Sign up for cause while you're there. Get yourself, they'll call you. You go and you register. They'll give you an actual phone call. A real person will call you and talk to you and see where you best fit, what state you're in. All of that will be figured out when you put your address in to sign the petition. They'll send a letter to your legislator and you'll be a superhero. And then you go out and you go ahead and help it out, right? You go ahead, just like the rest of the tankers have been doing, you go out there and you start selling people on the concept. Whenever someone starts with some other avenue, you tell them no. Article 5. The more they hear it, the more it'll sink in. Because I ain't letting this go, folks. We're going to keep diving down these rabbit holes, but I'm always going to finish these things by explaining the one-way, real substantive. Look, for the people that are out there and say, oh, it won't work. They're not going to listen. They're not going to obey. Okay, you know what? If they don't, then we know where we stand. Then we go to next steps, but not until then. First, we do it the right way, right? So let's get that done first. All right, folks, thank you for watching. I appreciate everybody. Make sure you follow, share, subscribe, all the fun stuff. And thank you to everyone who commented and engaged. It's very, very much appreciated. And I'm